Hey, this is gonna be my Marvel tier list as of what day is it? March 5th? March 5th. I think Wandavision just finished today. I watched it, it was pretty good. So, this is 24 Marvel movies on the tier list. I'm just gonna go in order here of how this is listed. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a movie that I have had a lot of back and forth opinions about. Sometimes I thought it was really good when it came out, then I thought it was bad-ish. Down here now, I think I like it for what it is. I put it in A. Uh, Spoiler warning: I'm a massive Marvel fan. I think most of them are really good. So, A is A is pretty average for when Marvel comes out. I think this is a really average movie. There's no crazy villain or anything in it. It's just simple. It's a really simple, just fun movie. It's not supposed to be massive. I think it does really good at what it's supposed to do. I thought it's a lot of the Ant-Man stuff is really funny. I think just it just works. So yeah, I think it's just a very middle of the road MCU movie. And the first Ant-Man is almost tied with it. I think it's slightly below it. I think the plot of the first one is better, and I like the story more, but it doesn't feel like it aged as well coming into the second one. I think the second one flowed better as a movie, and the first one, it just, I don't know. I didn't like the villain in the first one very much. Yellow Jacket, he's okay, but yeah, I like Scott a lot. He's definitely one of the better characters in this series for sure. I think he's one of the better characters in the entire universe. He's one of the funniest guys to watch on screen. Definitely. So they're both in the middle right here in the A tier. Was this Age of Ultron? When I first watched it, it was my favorite movie in the entire universe, and now I put it in the B tier, which is going to end up being towards the bottom, if I'm being honest. But I liked the new characters a lot, Wanda and Quicksilver in this one when they came out. Wanda was like one of my favorite characters, and I don't know why she was, because she didn't do very much in this movie, but I was like, I don't know, how old was I when this came out? Probably like 18, 17, 16, something like that. So I just thought she was really cool. But in the end, Ultron is, I think he's super cool. I think he was used a little bit wrong, but he was pretty cool. And the movie's just a little bit slow. If it was a little faster pace, I think, or if certain scenes weren't in there, like the Thor, I don't even hate that it's in there. I don't know. It's just a very B movie. I think C is where I consider a very okay movie in general. B is good, A is great, and S is excellent. So it's still a good movie. It just feels like it needs more. This is where Iron Man's armor started to look a little not so hot as well. So that's a little bit of it too. Some of the jokes just were overused as heck. Like the Captain America language one has just got old after the first couple times. Black Panther, I put it in B right behind Age of Ultron, and I think it's because they didn't make the main character very interesting to watch. Like, Black Panther himself is not even in like the top 3 or 4 most interesting characters in this movie, and he's the one it's based around. And then they tried to fake us out with killing him when he was already in trailers. Like, I'm not sure why they bothered trying to do that. They could have just chucked him off a cliff and then shown the part where he's getting revived. I would have liked that a little bit more, honestly, but I don't know why you do a death fake out in Black Panther when you already know he's going to be in the next movie anyways. That's part of the problem with this universe, is no one's going to die, but it's not a huge reason why. It's not a big factor. But basically, this movie is just, I don't know, it just feels really basic. The main character is not the most interesting guy around. That being said, I was looking forward to him in Black Panther 2. It's a little unfortunate that we're not going to get that, but yeah, I think Killmonger is a really fun villain to watch. I don't think he's a particularly amazing villain. I think he's fun to watch, though. M'Baku's really funny, and Everett Ross is really out of place, but that's the point, so I think he's fine. Yeah, it's basically just, I wish they made the main character a little bit more interesting in this movie. That would have made it a lot better, I think. The first time I watched it, I thought it was really good, and then I realized that it's not the most rewatchable film of all of these films, that's for sure. Captain Marvel, I was never high on, and I still am not. It's actually dropped down my ranking a little bit. It's the first movie I'll put in C tier. It's very okay. It's just like, the first time I watched it, I was really interested in the character. A lot of these movies really shift upon your first time watching it, and then watching it again and again and again, because I've watched all these movies at least 5 times. Even WandaVision, I've watched every episode 2 or 3 times at least already, so I don't know. This was the one that was never interesting. Talos and Nick Fury were like the 2 best parts about this. And the way where she started remembering where she was, where her friend, it's not Monica Rambeau, it's the mom of Monica Rambeau. I can't even remember her name. That's a little embarrassing, but yeah, the way that she found out who she was again, it was like, she's like, who am I? And the character gives a paragraph of monologue, and then all of a sudden Captain Marvel's just like, actually, I know exactly who I am now, because of this paragraph of dialogue that was just so basic. It doesn't make any sense how that paragraph would have solved an entire movie's worth of problems. And then the final battle, she just destroys everybody, which doesn't, I get it, she's really powerful, so it makes sense. It's just the villain, Jude Law, was bad because of that. There was, I don't know, it's just nothing really glued together in this movie. It needed something else. Her forgetting who she was, it took too long for her to find out who she was again. Everything in the movie was really predictable. It's predictable in a lot of these, but especially in this one. This one was probably one of the worst offenders of that. It just doesn't do anything for me compared to the rest of them. Alright, but anyways, C tier. Still okay. Civil War, I put in S tier. This was the movie that I watched that made me interested in the Marvel Universe. So before I watched Civil War, I didn't even know that these movies were connected. This movie came out, I think, in 2015. I had just gone to college, I think. I was junior. Yeah, I just moved out to college. I went to live in the dorms. This movie came out. Or maybe this came out right before that, but regardless, this was the movie that got me hooked into the MCU right here. This one made me go back and watch all of them again. And I just love the action in this movie. It's really fun to watch. The airport scene is still one of my top 5 probably for the entire universe. It was so fun to watch. Man, this one had me on the edge of my seat in the theater, I remember. It's gone down slightly since then, just because, I don't know, the plan of the villain isn't the most coherent thing. It's very chance-driven, but I kind of think that it works in this movie because the villain's main plan overall is to have the Avengers fight, which was set up in this movie, Age of Ultron. It kind of worked. I think they would have ended up fighting each other anyways, but I don't know, the villain, Baron Zemo's okay. But everything else in the movie is really good. I like the character moments. I like pretty much everything. The part where they're running on the highways, Winter Soldier is running away. Black Panther is really good in this movie. Black Panther is better in this movie than he is in his own movie. Black Panther is like super cool in this movie, and that's why I was so excited for Black Panther. And then I don't know. It's weird that he's cooler in a movie that's not his. But yeah, and then Spider-Man being in it, that's just super cool. I didn't expect that at all, but it happened. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Thor: The Dark World, I think is just okay. I don't think it's bad. I think it's still okay. This is definitely the worst villain by far in the MCU. Actually, there's one I think is worse. Nah, he's worse than that one. Both of them are really bad, but this one, man, he doesn't do anything. He literally doesn't do anything. Thor isn't the best character in this movie. It's low-key, probably. Jane is just a problem in this movie. Darcy is not good in this movie. I'm so happy that she's good in the new one, because that made it really fun to watch. But man, this one is just, it's just okay all the way through. There's nothing that's super cool, and there's nothing that's like terrible. It's just so okay all the way through. It's so bland. It's so C tier. Like every scene is just C tier, except for Loki scenes. They can go up to B and A. But this is such a C tier movie. Like everything about it is C tier, except for the villain. The villain's F tier, but Loki cancels that out. So it's definitely just a C tier movie. It needed a lot more. It was a mess, honestly. Yeah, Doctor Strange. When I saw this movie in promos, I remember looking through my Facebook and they had that weird ad where it was a weird time on Facebook where they had that ad. Damn, I don't know how to describe it, but basically he was standing on the edge of the building and the ad would repeat itself over and over. It was super cool. And I thought this movie was going to be a mega letdown. I was like, oh no, here we go. We're going to put magic people in Marvel. That's just great. I can't believe that we're going to put magic people in Marvel. So immediately I thought it was F tier. Before I even watched it, just when I saw the previews and stuff, I was like, I have zero interest in this. And then I went to see the movie in the theaters, and now I have it in S tier. Probably above Civil War. Yeah, I like it more than Civil War. I like Doctor Strange a lot. This movie was a pleasant surprise. I loved it. The magic was cool. Doctor Strange is cool. He is a lot like Tony Stark, and the movie kind of copies Iron Man a little bit, definitely. But they did a good job making sure it was still kind of unique. So I'm happy with how this movie turned out. I'm for sure happy about it, and I like watching it a lot. The magic is really cool, actually, in the MCU, and especially in Infinity War. Doctor Strange is probably one of the coolest heroes out there. He's definitely either my second or third most favorite in the universe. The villain is just okay, admittedly. I put him in B tier, which is good, but he didn't really do much. Dormammu, I think, was super, super cool, and the way he beat Dormammu was super unique, and I like it because it's not the same as the other movies. Like in most movies, it's good guy beats bad guy through I did this and I'm better than you at this, but technically he is better than him at time travel and stuff. But Doctor Strange just outsmarted him here. He's not stronger than him. He's definitely not someone who could beat him in a fight, but he outsmarted him, and that was cool that he learned that from the spell earlier. And it becoming an Infinity Stone, I was stupid back then, so I didn't see it coming. I was just brand new to the Marvel Universe. I was like, what? It was an Infinity Stone the whole time? Oh, that's super cool. But yeah, I just love this movie. I had a great experience with it. It's definitely S tier for me. Avengers Endgame, I liked it more when it came out than I do now. It goes back and forth for me a lot between being, wow, this is just a masterpiece of the MCU, and wow, this kind of let me down a little bit. But I put it in S tier at the top of what we got so far. It is definitely, in terms of a Marvel Universe finale, it does it very well. The main two issues I have with this movie that bring it back are how Hulk is treated in this movie. There's two things I think about that. First, I think it's funny, and I think it does work. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I enjoy Hulk in this movie. He has a lot of quotable lines and stuff. Time travel. Stuff like that. But on the other hand, I really miss the Hulk we had in the first Avengers, and it really sucks that we didn't get that. It's kind of the same with Thor a little bit, but less so, where I was like, the Thor Lebowski, it's really funny. I enjoy this a lot. And then I was like, wow, I really wish we just had epic Thor going crazy in this movie, but we kind of got that anyways at the end. Thor makes a lot more sense in this than Hulk did. But the part that sucks the most about Hulk is that all the development happened off screen. I just wish that we got a separate movie about that one day where we see what happened with the Hulk in between Infinity War and Endgame. I think that'd be a really good movie. I think it'd make Endgame a little bit better too if they did that right. Or it could make it worse if they do it wrong. You never know. But this movie, I was high on it. It was number 2 on my list. Now it's dropped slightly. But yeah, I can put this movie in and have a good time. I definitely cried when Iron Man did his thing at the end. Oh man, this movie was crazy. I really like this movie a lot. But yeah, so Endgame, S tier. First Avenger, I started out thinking that it was one of the worst. And then I was like, I didn't watch it for a while, and it started getting a good memory in my head. I was like, yeah, it's good. And then I was like, yeah, actually, it's really good. Then I watched it again. I think this is the one I've seen the most recent. And it's really good up to a point, and then you get to the montaging, and they just skip so much. This could have been 2 or even a trilogy of movies right here, and they skipped it a lot in this movie. And it kind of made it kind of hurt the movie. The first part, though, where Captain America is becoming Captain America, is very good. Some of the best stuff in the universe. Bucky dying. When I watched this the first time, I obviously didn't realize what was going on. I wasn't a comic fan at all. I watched this movie way before I watched Civil War, so I had no idea this was related at all to Iron Man or any of those guys or whatever. I just watched this movie and had a good time with it. But now I'm putting it at the end of B tier, right after Black Panther. I think it's a good movie. I just really wish they would have... See, I don't wish that, because then they would have messed up the rest of the phases, but sometimes there's certain movies that suffer because they're in this universe, and this is one of them, where this story needed a bunch of standalone parts with him and the Red Skull and his squad and World War II and everything. It needed multiple parts, but because it's in Marvel, it didn't get those multiple parts, and it hurt the movie for sure. But yeah, I'm glad. I think this movie was made a little bit better even when Endgame happened and he got back with Peggy at the end. It made it even better. And seeing Red Skull at the gate, that was pretty cool. You know what? I like it more than Black Panther. I think I almost like it more than Ultron, but do I? Yeah, it's probably at the top of B, actually. Damn. It's really hard to rank these. See, they switch around so much. Yeah, I'm gonna put it at the top of B. It's pretty good. It's almost great. It's just the montaging part really messed it up. I wish it was a trilogy of just him in World War II, but I understand why we can't have that. So, B tier. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I watched in theaters. I thought it was the best thing ever. I had it in my top 3 for sure. It would have been up here. And then I kept watching it, and I realized all the problems. Now I put it at A. So the main problems I have with this are Drax makes no sense in this movie at all to me. He just randomly starts laughing a ton, and it's just an obnoxious laugh. I don't get it at all. And what else happens? Let me think for a second here. So Drax, that's the main problem I have with it. It's just how out of character he is. Rocket being a dick makes sense to me. I actually like that part where he's learning it from Yondu and they're bonding and stuff. The Taserface joke was overused way too much. It ruined a lot of what was happening. That whole scene on the ship when they were captured was pretty bad. Between the Taserface stuff and then them beating up Groot. Them beating up Groot is not something I want to see on screen. I don't care if it happened or not. I just don't want to see that. It's not interesting to me. I don't enjoy watching a baby Groot get beat up. I think a lot of people probably would agree with me. It's just, this movie was really funny when it came out, and now there's a couple jokes that just ruin it. If they took the Taserface stuff out, I'd actually move this movie up probably. If they took the Groot stuff out, or if they made Drax less of what he is. See, he still has really good moments in this film. Like, Drax is such a good character, and Dave Bautista does a good job playing him. I think he's wasted a little bit because he doesn't do anything epic. He kind of just, in this movie, just sits around making stupid comments and acting like a guy who just laughs at literally everything, when in the first movie it was really hard for him to laugh at anything. Man, he's just so out of character in this movie. If you take Drax from any of the other 3 movies he's in and you compare it to this one, it just is so different. I hate it. But everything else in this movie, I like the gold people, actually. I think they're funny. I think Ego is a fine villain. I don't put him in A tier, I put him in B tier. The Peter stuff and his dad is really, I think it's good. The pacing of the movie is actually pretty good. It moves along nice. Baby Groot is awesome when he's not getting beat up by people and tortured for no reason. Yeah. Gamora and Nebula are both good in this. The ripe thing was funny. And yeah. I think it was just it's still a great movie. I think it's just if Drax was better, I'd definitely have it in S tier, probably near the top. But that's where it'll fall for now. Original Guardians of the Galaxy will go towards the top of S tier. This movie is just awesome. It feels a lot different than the rest of the movies. It's just a ragtag of heroes coming together. It's the funniest movie I think in the whole universe. I think it's the most wholesome too, actually, with the We Are Groot stuff. That's part of what bothers me about Galaxy 2 as well, is they were on such good terms in Galaxy 1. What happened within this movie only takes place 3 months after this one. Why are they so not cohesive all of a sudden? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. They're like, in this movie they're getting along at the end, and this one they're all of a sudden they're getting along almost worse than they did in this one. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, the first one is great. It's just it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun to watch this movie. A lot like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think this one is just the more fun version of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, I actually think the villain in this movie did exactly what he was supposed to too. I think Ronan is not supposed to be a crazy mastermind villain. The guy is just he's a Kree. He doesn't think very much. He does what he thinks he needs to do, whether it's killing an entire planet or killing one person. He does what thinks he has to do. I think he did a perfect job in this movie. This movie isn't about having an epic villain. It's about having a villain to stop, and they did it. I think it was perfect. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy S. Spider-Man Homecoming is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, and I think Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man actor of all time. Spider-Man is awesome. I love this movie. The Vulture is my favorite villain aside from Thanos in the MCU. I almost like him more than Thanos, but this movie, when watching it in theaters, I had an absolutely fantastic time with it, and even watching it afterwards, I just have a fantastic time with it. Spider-Man in high school. This guy looks the most like a high school Spider-Man. I hear a lot of people say that they don't like that he doesn't swing through the cities and stuff, but I don't really care that he doesn't swing through the cities. This is a really good MCU Spider-Man here. He wants to be an Avenger. He realizes that he's not ready at the end, but he doesn't realize it throughout the whole movie. He spends the whole movie messing up, learning from his mistakes, and at the end he ends up getting the Vulture. It's crazy. This movie just surprised me a lot, and the reveal when you saw the Vulture was Liz's dad, that shocked me. I remember my heart dropped when I saw that. I did not see that coming. That is the most surprising moment I had in the entire Marvel universe by far. That was shocking stuff for me. And then when he realizes that Peter is Spider-Man and the traffic light turns green, he's like, oh, this movie was really good. I don't really know if I like Liz that much. She's fine though. She does what she's supposed to do. And MJ, it's not the MJ that we're used to, obviously, but what she is, she's good at. She's funny in this one. I like all the characters are better in this movie than they are in the second one for sure. Ned's good. Guy in the chair. This movie's awesome. Iron Man is used perfectly in this movie. It's just a great movie. Incredible Hulk is the only movie I think is not good. The pacing in this movie makes no sense. The villain is awful. Bruce Banner himself is just okay. I mean, actually, Edward Norton as Bruce Banner is interesting. I enjoyed it. But everything else in this movie is not good. There's nothing in this movie that's even above C tier, I don't think. The villain's bad. Bruce Banner's okay. I do wish that Liv Tyler, what's her name, Betty Ross, came back. I prefer that over Black Widow Hulk, for sure. And the end of this movie just doesn't make sense. His eyes turn green. It's like, oh, I learned how to control it. And then all of a sudden, he's hiding in a random place. What was it? I don't even know where he was hiding in the Avengers. I forget. But this movie is just, it doesn't matter at all. There's no point for it to be here. It doesn't do anything. There's like one line in this movie that made me laugh. And all the rest of these movies have multiple lines. Even Thor, The Dark World, has multiple lines. That one has like one line that I thought was funny. And when you don't have a good plot, well, the plot, yeah, it was pretty bad. You don't have a good plot, you don't have good action, you don't have a good pacing, and your comedy's just not good either. It's just, there's nothing this movie has that is better than anything else these have at all. It's a D tier movie. It's not what I would consider an okay movie. Avengers Infinity War, easily S tier. This movie is my favorite movie for sure. Spoiler alert, nothing's going above Infinity War. The way the characters all interact in this movie is just awesome. The only issue that I could have with this movie is Captain America is underused, very much so, and his whole group is. But most of all, Captain America himself is just underused and basically does almost nothing in this movie, actually. When you think about it, he just saves Vision once, goes to the HQ, goes to Wakanda, they fight Thanos, he doesn't do anything in the battle. Everyone else is fighting people, he doesn't do anything different than them. And yeah, all he does is saves Vision. That's pretty much all he does in this movie. He's just there to kick some butt then. But Thor in this movie is crazy good. Like, Thor in Infinity War is peak Thor. Like, his journey and his character from Ragnarok and Infinity War on is just awesome. The character's so good. I really like Thor in this movie. They saved that character. In this movie, I was like, Thor is probably my easy least favorite Avenger. He's easily my least favorite. Not even close. And now he's probably one of my favorites after Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame. He's just got a lot better. I'm so glad they made that change in his character. Yeah, the way the Avengers interact with the Guardians of the Galaxy on the ship when they're having their battle is awesome. Thanos fighting on Titan, that Titan fight is the best fight in the MCU, I think. That was just awesome, and the best part about this movie is Thanos himself. And I'll talk a little bit about Endgame because I missed that part about it. Another part I don't like is, in this movie, Thanos he's driven. Like, he is not doing this for no reason. He has a reason to be doing this. And he believes it is the right reason. He doesn't think he's being mean. He thinks he's literally saving half of the universe. And in his mind, he thinks he's being generous. He doesn't want to hurt people just to hurt people. He doesn't want to kill people just to kill them. He is doing this because he wants the world to be a better place. And his version of the world being a better place just happens to be not such a good way. But his intentions, honestly, are good intentions. And he's such a well-developed character in this movie. And I just enjoy that he doesn't just kill people to kill people. He only does it. He doesn't even kill anyone in this movie, does he? Oh, he kills Loki, but Loki is... He's died so many times, I can't even count anymore. But in this movie, he's such a character-driven... He's such a character. He's well-written and everything. And in this movie, all of a sudden, he just comes back. It's like, actually, I'm just going to kill everybody. It doesn't even make a lot of sense. Even in 2014, the 2014 Thanos... He's just not the same in this movie. I think they minorly ruined the character, honestly, in this movie. That's another reason I have an issue with it. I almost want to put Spider-Man up here, but I can't. There's so many parts of this movie that are good. But yeah, Thanos in this movie is just so good. He's easily a great villain. So good. And Iron Man 2 is the movie I think is better than everybody else does. I put it in A tier. Yeah, this movie has a lot of things going on. The party scene where he is peeing in his suit is pretty bad, but this movie is just enjoyable for me to watch. I enjoy putting it in. Oh, that's the Iron Man 1, actually. Shit. Let me go ahead and switch these around since I started talking about that. Iron Man 2 in A tier. Yeah. It's just fun. There's a lot of quotes in here that are funny. It's just fun to watch. Good action. The last scene where they're killing the suits of armor, it's not crazy epic, but it's good. I enjoy how they do it. They're just like showing off to each other, like, hey, look what I can do. Hey, look what I can do. Oh, I got a weapon just for this guy. Does nothing. Hammer tech. I think it was fine. The villains are not the greatest. Hammer himself is good, but Mickey Rourke's guy, Whiplash, is not. I don't care about that villain, really. I wish he was written better. But this movie, it was trying to set up a lot. I think it's a good movie. A great movie, actually. It's an A tier. I think it's a great movie. I enjoy watching it. The plots and all the plots going on. There's too much going on. This could have been 2 movies for sure. We could have an Iron Man 4. I think this should have been Iron Man 4 for sure. This should be Iron Man 2 and 3. And that would make both of them a lot better, I think. But yeah, just fun to watch. Iron Man 1 is, I think, the first movie I ever watched in this universe, and it is still one of my favorites to this day. Top of S tier for this movie. This movie feels a lot different than the rest of the MCU because this was pre-Disney. So this movie feels a lot more gritty than the rest of them, and I enjoy that. Real things are happening. You actually see characters dying on screen, which is something you'll almost never see in any of these movies, other than this one. There's actually a scene in there where he is in bed with a girl, and that you don't see that in any of these movies anymore. You never see that kind of stuff. You see maybe, oh, here's a kiss, oh, here's a kiss. But Tony Stark himself, he's a playboy. You don't see that in this movie. You don't see that in Iron Man 3, wherever that is. You don't see it in Avengers. You don't see it in any other movie that Tony Stark's in. This is the one. And his character development in this movie is just crazy. It's crazy fun. The cave stuff, what's his name? I'm forgetting it. It starts with the Y. Jensen in this movie is awesome. I used to not like the cave stuff, so I'd put this movie a little bit lower on my list, but then I came to love it. The only part about this movie that's not good is the end. The final battle with Ironmonger, the villain's very C tier, but everything else in this movie is definitely S tier. If it had a better villain and the final act was a little bit better, it would easily be here. But yeah, I gotta put it here for now. Just really fun movie to watch. I can put this movie in literally any day and watch it. It's so fun. Thor Ragnarok fixed the franchise for sure. Fixed Thor, fixed everything. Jane not being in it makes sense, honestly, for where they were in the movie and where they were going. I get that Jane wasn't in it. It wouldn't really make sense at all for her to be in this movie. There'd be nothing for her to do or any point for her to be in it at all, except for maybe in the beginning or maybe at the end. But it makes sense. Why they broke up with her, I don't really care at all, really. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's a really fun movie to watch. Really funny. Thor is a lot better in this movie for sure. The only problem I have with it is sometimes it ruins serious moments with its jokes. Like when he's throwing the ball out the window, I think the ball should have just gone through the window and they should have kept going. That would have been pretty epic. But instead they had to make a joke about it. But most of the jokes worked, even in the serious battles, so I put this one in S tier. Middle S tier. As you can see, there's a lot of S tier movies. I really like this universe, but yeah, I really like this movie. It's just solid S tier. A little bit less jokes, maybe it would have been a little better, but the fight scene with the Hulk and Thor, really good. Really good. Hela's a great villain, too. First Thor, I think, is a good movie. It's bottom of B tier. Good movie. Well, the villain, this movie lacks an identity for a villain, I think. Loki's barely a villain in this movie. He's barely in it. That silver guy that comes at the end and throws fire at people is just not... He's not the villain. This movie doesn't have a very good main villain. Or even much of a main villain at all. I think that would make it maybe slightly better, but not every movie needs a main villain, I don't think. And this movie didn't need one. Him on Earth, when he first got there, is some of the funniest stuff in the MCU for sure. And the fight scene with the silver thing, I don't even know what to call it. The silver thing. But yeah, that's good. Yeah, this movie is just... How this movie is solidly C tier, this movie is solidly B tier in like every aspect. Pretty much. It's just a solid step above this movie, pretty much every way. So yeah, B tier. Winter Soldier, personally, I don't like it as much as other people do. I find this movie still to be great, but since everybody else thinks this movie is the best movie in the universe, I always feel like I have to talk about why it's not my favorite. And it's not my favorite because I feel like everything in this movie is great. Everything in this movie is A tier to me, with maybe a few S tier things, but and a few B tier things. But this movie all throughout is just really good. It's not S tier all around, it's just A tier all the way through for me. I don't know, it doesn't peak. The fight scene with the Winter Soldier, I guess, would be the highlight of this movie in my opinion. That's definitely S tier for sure, the fight scenes in Winter Soldier and Captain America in this movie. Yeah, I have it behind Iron Man 2, and that triggers like everybody that exists in the world. This movie just didn't do it for me like it did for other people. I really like this. This is just a straightforward Captain America movie right here. It's just straightforward, really good Captain America. I might put it here. I'll have to rewatch it again. But I think I'm going to put it here for now. Maybe when Winter Soldier comes out and stuff, Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out, I'll redo the list and maybe it'll move up. I'll watch it between now and then, but from what I can remember, I have it in A. Iron Man 3 is a movie that I will put in S tier, and I have no shame about it. I really like this movie. It's definitely the bottom of S tier and almost only A tier. But the Mandarin turn didn't bother me because I don't read the comics, so I don't understand a lot of that Mandarin stuff. I get why it bothers a lot of people. If you read the comics, this is probably your least favorite movie in the entire world, and now I understand more about the Mandarin, so I understand why. But we're gonna get it in Shang-Chi anyways, so I'm okay with that as long as he's coming back. But this movie, it just dissects Tony Stark as a character. He's got PTSD from the first Avengers, and I think that's awesome. Movie affects him in this one. The part about this movie I don't like, I'm not a huge fan of the stuff with the kid. I think it's a little bit weird. And how this movie has literally zero impact on the MCU, because at the end of this, he basically retires. You know what would have fixed this movie and this movie together? Is if in the beginning of this movie, Iron Man wasn't there. Because in this movie, he retires, right? At the end, he gets rid of all of his suits. He just takes the Jarvis thing, or what do they call it, dummy? He takes a dummy, drives away, he basically retires. That's what it looks like. So why in this movie is he retiring? And in this movie, he's in the very first scene fighting with them. What would have made this movie and this movie better is if Iron Man is not fighting with them in this movie and they have to go ask him to come back, and then he comes back. That would have made this movie better, I think. That would make this movie matter more. The final scene in this movie with all the suits of armor is awesome. I like that final scene a lot. Aldrich Killian is just okay in this movie. That's why most people don't like it, I'm pretty sure, is because Killian's just... he's nothing compared to what the Mandarin would have been. Killian is disappointing compared to the Mandarin for sure. And replacing the Mandarin for Killian, I get it. But the rest of this movie, aside from that, is just great. I love watching this movie. This movie is almost more... this is probably the movie that I could throw in and rewatch the most of any of them. I don't really know why, but this is the most rewatchable movie for me in the MCU. For sure. First Avengers I put here in S tier, right above Iron Man 3. When this movie first came out, I would have put it above it, but now I put Avengers above. I almost want to put Avengers here or even here, but I'll put it here today. Yeah, it's really good. I like their dynamic in this one more. They make Thor work in this movie, and that is impressive. That they make Thor work in the state he was in the first two movies. He works in this movie in a team. He does not work in this movie as a team as well, but this one he works. Their first meeting everyone in the forest the first time. Doth mother know thou weareth her drapes? It's really funny stuff. It's exactly how they would meet too. It's not like it's just there for comedy. It's there because that's actually what Tony Stark would say to a guy like this, who he has no idea what the hell this guy is. Yeah, the only problem I have with this movie is it's a little slow in the beginning. But other than that, it's really good scenes. Loki in this movie is such a godlike villain compared to this movie. He's so good in this movie. The final fight scene, the circle, when they're circling around all the Avengers, everything in this movie is good. Solid S tier movie. Probably towards the bottom half, but yeah, solid S. Spider-Man Homecoming. Nope, this is Spider-Man Far From Home. When I first watched it, I thought it was godlike, and then now I have a big problem with a couple of the characters specifically that make the movie not as good for me. I've had it here for a while. I'm debating putting it here. I think I like Ant-Man and the Wasp more. I think I'll put it here, honestly. Yeah, probably right here. This movie would be a very high on the list if Ned wasn't an idiot in this movie. I think Ned is awful in this movie. It's like Drax in this movie. Drax is nothing like he was in the first movie. Ned is kind of like he was in this movie, a little bit more than Drax, but he's still... what the hell happened, dude? They just use Ned as comedy in this one. He just doesn't do anything. He's just not as good. I think Mysterio is a good villain. I don't think he's an S tier villain. I think he's A tier, but no one No one thought Mysterio was a good guy at all. Everyone knew he was a villain, but I think they did it in the right way. His reveal scene was kind of long, kind of dragged out. The coolest scenes in this movie are the ones where he has Spider-Man in that universe. And he's in the big CGI fights where he can't see anything and Mysterio is changing the world. That is really cool stuff. Those are the really cool action scenes. It makes me want to move it up here, but no, I have too much of a problem with Ned. And MJ is okay in this one. I like her more in this one. Something falls flat about her character for me in this one. This movie, it was so cool when it came out, but it's still great. It's just not as good as the first one at all. And now the last one, the one that just finished. Wandavision. This TV show would have benefited a lot if they all came out at the same time. Eventually, I just got really irritated having to wait a week when the episodes are only 20 minutes long. And I'm not going to take that into consideration because now that we have the full thing, I look at it as a full product and I really like it. A lot of the fan theories and stuff in this movie went out of control and it really destroyed. The expectations got way too high because everyone was expecting crazy things like Mephisto or Doctor Strange or Tobey Maguire is going to appear in the final thing. Everyone had all these expectations, which made it feel less good when you had those expectations. But when you don't have those expectations, which I don't even know how we got those expectations in the first place, but when you don't have them, it's a really good movie. Where do I want to put it? I know it's going in S tier because I really like it. I want to put it here, over here. I've always wanted something about Wanda because I really like her as a character. Surprisingly, I think I'm going to put it here. Yeah, WandaVision S tier. Bottom half, but almost middle of S tier. But yeah. Agatha in this one was very cool until I had a problem with how they ended her arc. I get why they did it. It makes sense. It was a really weird scene. It was odd. The final battle with them throwing magic balls at each other was weird as fuck, but it made sense. It was a unique way to beat the villain, casting the magic thing. Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't a top tier ending, but it was a top tier show. A lot of the comedy stuff, especially when Vision is being basically Jim from The Office, is really funny. Seeing Wanda's origin and stuff is awesome. Yeah. I just really like this show. Definitely a top 10 MCU property, I think. And coming out next is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then what do we have? We have Black Widow, Loki. Yeah, I'm really excited for a lot of these. Especially this Doctor Strange movie. That'll be epic. Or Spider-Man. That will be epic. Thor, I'm excited for. I'm a little worried, but I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah, so this is the list right here. Basically, 24 is The Incredible Hulk, 23 is Thor: The Dark World, 22 Captain Marvel, 21 Thor, 20 Black Panther, 19 and Age of Ultron, 18 the first Captain America, 17 is Winter Soldier, 16 Iron Man 2, 15 Guardians 2, 14 Ant-Man, 13 Spider-Man Far From Home, 12 Ant-Man and the Wasp. Finally getting knocked out of the top 10, and 11 is Iron Man 3. 10th is The Avengers, 9th is Civil War, 8th WandaVision, 7th Doctor Strange, 6th Guardians of the Galaxy, 5 Thor Ragnarok, 4 Spider-Man Homecoming, 3 Endgame, 2 Iron Man, and easily coming in first place is Infinity War. So yeah, that's my Marvel list.